All right. Everybody can see my screen. Y'all ready to jump in?
Yep, I'm good now.
Awesome. So this is the page that you're going to be brought to the second that you have logged into the MemberClicks website. So you'll always be brought to this area of membership dashboards. Now, this is just a sneak peek at some of these different components. We can dive into these different components into much further detail within the system, but this just kind of gives you a quick overview of what's going on, who's a member, where they're at in their membership, quick peek at the registrations for upcoming events, and a quick peek at to look at financials. So this first area here are the membership dashboards. So you'll notice I've got a bunch of your member types in here. I'll have this completed once I've received those documents. And you'll actually be able to see how your membership is sorted into each of these different member types. And you'll be able to follow these member types as they move through the system, through their membership. So right now, all of those guys are active. Once we've launched your website and we've automated your membership, you'll be able to see them move from an active member into their grace period. If they still haven't completed payment for their membership, then they're going to move from grace to lapsed. And the cool thing about this is you're still going to have all their information within their profile. You'll still be able to view their profiles. They're not going anywhere. They're not being deleted. They're just hanging out in that lapsed column. Now, one cool thing is you can click on any of these numbers. So if you're like, oh, we only have one, gold member company, I wonder who that is. You can click on that number 1, and it's going to bring you into a profile list of that one individual. And there's all kinds of things that we can do from here. I'm going to show you this, like the different actions that you can do from the profile list, but we'll probably get to that on the second part of our training next time.
So if the gold membership, there's actually 3 people tied to that membership.
Yeah.
All 3 are actually going to display on there.
Yeah, so the way that this works is you'll notice from our database, or from this membership roster, there's the gold, which is the company. There's one company,
right,
but then there's the gold members that are linked.
Right.
And right now there are 3 linked members to that company. So I think this is one of those things that got a little confusing when you were formatting the database. And I mentioned, well, there's 2 different member types.
Right.
This is how they're separated. So if I dive into this single profile and I look at this Centennial Bank, which is this gold member, this is the company's profile. So this is split up into their built-in attributes. We're going to talk a lot about attributes hopefully today. Built-in attributes are those things that we already had in our system, just because we know, I was working with 1,700 associations. These are the items that you guys typically collect, things like phone number, physical address, email address, first and last name for an individual, company name for the company. So that's all this information here. You'll see exactly how many linked profiles this company has. Over here to the right are system attributes. So these are things the system has to have in order to keep track of your members' membership. And down at the bottom, we have a summary of built-in and custom attributes. So if there are any custom attributes for this individual member or for this company, then we would have collected those. Now we have some tabs here, so we can view any message history. So any email that ever goes out to a member or to an email, you'll be able to view what messages have gone from MemberClicks to that individual in their message history tab. Submissions would be any form submissions that have been made, invoices or any invoices that have been created, and then linked profiles. From here, you can see exactly who those linked profiles are, who the key contact is. If you want, you can unlink members. You can also use add linked profiles or create linked profiles to add additional members.
Okay, that was one quick question on that. So we've just noticed this within the membership here. So as an example, if Tammy were to leave, even though she's the key contact, if she were to leave and go to another bank, we could then make Kevin the key contact, and then we can move Tammy to another bank, another organization, very simply, because by going to her personal profile, that's where we make her change. Is that right?
Yeah, so you would just unlink her, and then you would actually go into the other bank's profile, and you'll see the same linked profile tab, and you'll select Add Linked Profile. Now, the difference between Add Linked Profile and Create Linked Profile, adding means that they already have a profile in your system, whether they're moving from another bank, or whether they are maybe a prospect. Creating a linked profile means that you don't have a profile created for this individual. So you're having to create an entirely new profile and also link it simultaneously.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and you can just, by toggling this on, that makes Kevin the key contact. Toggle Tammy off if you want to. You can have more than one key contact, by the way, in your profiles if you ever need to.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
And then you'll also notice you can view when the profile was created, the last time the profile was modified. If I dive into Tammy's profile, let's say that we just searched Tammy's name and we came immediately to her profile, you'll notice there's going to be this big box here in the middle, and this tells you who her company is. So this is all the company info, and you can actually click View Profile and it'll take you back to the company. Okay. Awesome. Any other questions on this kind of like current membership roster dashboard over here?
No, it looks good. I like it.
Awesome. Now, we also have included the prospect, which is the non-member member type that we've included in the system. This is going to catch anybody that's not a member. So as individuals start registering for events, if non-members can attend, the system's going to automatically create a prospect profile for them. I think that's super helpful because let's say you're having a 2017 conference and you've allowed non-members to come. Next year, come 2018, you can search by that attribute, who came to the 2017 conference, who completed a form submission of the 2017 registration. And prospects will be included in that search. So you can reach back out to those individuals and say, hey guys, we noticed you came to last year's conference. We'd love to have you again. Please register. Here's the registration. Or another way to use that information is you can always search for those people after the conference, send everybody a survey that we can build in a form and say, would you come to next year's event? Why or why not? And kind of receive some comments so you can know what you guys can do better or what you're already being great at. And then, of course, we've got the new members in the last 90 days. This is going to pull from join date, which is another system attribute. So that's going to automatically populate when your members complete membership applications. This is just an awesome tool because you'll be able to click on any of these numbers, just like what I did for that for the current members that we have in the active status. It'll bring you into their profile list, and then you can contact them from the profile list. And so you can send those guys emails and say, hey, welcome, thanks for being a new member with us. And you can reiterate some of the membership benefits they're gaining by being with you all.
So what we can do when we have a board meeting, what Suzanne does is she pulls a report and says, here's the report of our membership by type. Currently, it's comparing to 16 and 15. We'll need to obviously manually put those in, but so we can do a membership report for the board of directors quite easily by using this and see how many prospects we also have, correct?
That's exactly right. That'll be super easy. And I'm definitely going to show you guys how to pull reports. If we don't have the opportunity to get to that today, I'll make sure we get to it on our next time together.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Then if we drop down a little bit, we've got our event dashboards. Past event is going to show up to 3 past events, the date that they were held on and how many people attended. Upcoming expected events is going to show 3 upcoming events, the date that they are going to be held on, and how many people have registered so far. So this area is pulling from event registration forms.
So now, can we increase that from 3, or are we locked into 3?
We're locked into 3 here in this area, but you can search by this information and gather all of this information in a report as well.
Okay, so we can look, when we go into the event piece, then we can look a long way either way by going into the dashboard. Okay.
That's exactly right. Then we have our financial dashboards at the bottom. So aged receivables is going to show you how many outstanding invoices you have by how many days. So this is going to create a bar graph. If all of your invoices are current, you're going to see a big green bar populate in here with how much money you have in current invoices. If you start seeing red bars populate in here, this is going to show you how much money is pending, whether the invoices are 1 to 30 days due, 31 to 60 days past due, 61 to 90 days past due, and the 91 plus days past due. And then we also have sales over time. This is going to allow us to choose a revenue account, so we can use our revenue account filter, select the revenue accounts once I've entered these in here for you after I've received them, of course. And then we'll be able to see a line graph adjust by how much money came in per revenue account per month. I think this is a super helpful tool, especially when it comes to marketing and advertising, because if you're noticing that you guys are just receiving a ton of money in December for donations, just as an example, you could capitalize on that, or you could make sure that you're maybe making up for the difference throughout the rest of the year by maybe upping your advertising or exposing that you guys accept donations more on your website, just some kind of like different tools like that that you can use this for.
Let me ask a question of you, and we started, Diane and I, the bookkeeper and I started a conversation, but we need to talk about it more tomorrow. So for the financial pieces from us that you're looking for, do you need just our chart of accounts and how we break things out within our financials within QuickBooks so they match for you, or do you not need to drill down that far?
No, that's exactly what I need. I need the exact chart of accounts, and they have to be the exact same name.
That's what we thought, and we were going to just double check ourselves and see if all of the relevance to you. So, okay, that's perfect. That's what we were going to send you.
Awesome. Yeah, just because if we import the transaction report into your QuickBooks, and if the accounts are off, it's going to create duplicate accounts, and that becomes a real pain.
Okay, now that's perfect.
Awesome. All right. That's everything on this first kind of homepage on these dashboards. Any questions before we keep rocking?
No, we'll be able to go back and pull an age receivable report that I would be able to share with the leadership then, right? We're going to get into that later.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll talk about that actually here in just a second. Okay. So then I do want to show you guys your settings and account settings really quickly. So I'm just under the settings and account settings tab. Now, if you guys are anything like me, I have a million passwords, usernames, numbers, codes that I keep up with on a day-to-day basis. So when you get ready to start calling in after you've graduated and you're ready to start calling into the help team, they're going to ask you for your account number. You don't have to memorize it or write it down. It's always going to be under your settings and account settings page right here. This is also a great place to keep track of how many profiles, that's custom profiles and prospect profiles you're using. So of course, right now I only have partial of your database imported, which is 158 members. If we get everybody imported, and one day you see that you're getting close to that 1,000 number, you're going to want to either consider leveling up, or if you have a lot of lapsed members that haven't paid in a couple of years, you're going to want to move those maybe to prospect profiles or delete them. Now, delete is a scary word. However, in our case, deleting a member clicks is really like archiving. So you can always restore that profile. So if somebody comes back to you all and says that they want to rejoin 5 years later, you can always search their profiles, restore it so you still have all the past information that they had, and recreate them as a member that way. We've just got your time zone, your membership year, your member number, you're in QuickBooks, your notifications, and your billing contact info. I'm going to update all of this info once I receive your account settings document. Okay, any questions on this area?
No, that looks good. So 1,000 is our 1,000 is our top line. So that is a thousand, I want to be 100% sure, that's 1,000 profiles, i.e. individuals.
Yes, and that includes all of those linked profiles and companies.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Now we're going to dive into financials. I'm just going to go to the financial and invoices tab. Now it's difficult to kind of see how this is going to work without having some real-time invoices in here. So I'm going to use my MemberClicks test site. We all play around in here, so you might see a bunch of silly stuff. But I'm going to go to the same place, financial and invoices. Now this looks a little bit different because we have invoices in the system. This is where all invoices are kept, whether they're paid, voided, partially paid, open, void, I already said voided, whatever the status of the invoice is, you can find it in here. These invoices are listed by invoice number, the type, whether it's a renewal from a form, an ad hoc, which would be like a miscellaneous invoice. It's also, they're also listed by first name, last name, organization, the status, open, paid, partial, those items I just listed, total amount of the invoice, the due date of the invoice, and then you can view or void invoices from here. Now, just a tip, you can click any of these column headers to either A, alphabetize, or B, alphabetize backwards. I don't know what that, I can't ever think of that word. So if I wanted to list these invoices by number, I could click invoice number, and it's going to give these to me numerically. If I click this again, you'll notice it's going to start with the highest and work its way down. So this is just one way that you can take a look at these different columns. You can also search these invoices. So you can search by first name, last name, organization, or invoice number. I know I have a few in here. So if I search my name, you'll find all the invoices that have to do with the name Adrian. Now, some actions you can take to these invoices. Let's say that I call y'all and say, hey guys, I can't find my invoice in my email. Can you please resend it to me? I'll always be able to find my invoices in my personal profile on the front end of your site as a member, which is really awesome. However, maybe I'm not technically savvy and you know that about me, and instead of trying to give me instructions on how to find it, you just want to re-email it to me. Or maybe I'm a prospect, right? So I can't view my profile. In that case, you can always search that individual, tag their profile, and then select this email button up here. It's going to pull up the email that you had on file for me, but you can always change that, or you can add additional emails. You can also
do it. Because now we're in a situation, we've got so many people who we need to send it to the admins, and we don't want to change the whole profile email, so that's true.
Yep, you can just do it that way. Something else that you can do in here is if you have some members that like to receive maybe invoices via snail mail, you can always tag these profiles and create a PDF and print these out as well. We can sort these invoices. So if I wanted to look at just the open invoices, I would select open. We're still searching under Adrian, so now this shows you any open invoices for me. I can also view the paid invoices, pending, void, same thing here. Now we can dive into an invoice, and this is exactly how your invoices are going to look, except for, of course, it'll be your logo in the top right-hand corner and your association name over here in the left-hand corner. But basically, the info is going to be the same. It'll say that it's membership renewal. It'll list what member type, and then it's going to list their next expiration date. Now you're going to notice this notes field in here. This notes field is something that you all can add to your invoices. It's actually going to be a piece of homework I'm going to assign from our training today. I am going to send a follow-up email that lists instructions and what those homework items are. So from here, we can download the invoice, we can void the invoice, we can make a credit invoice, or you can pay the invoice. So let's say a member sends a check to you guys. All you have to do is search that member, open their invoice, select pay invoice. You can apply credit information if you need to, or you can make this an offline payment. There's all of these different offline options, including check. At that time, you would put in the check reference number or some type of reference number, the date received, and you would submit that offline payment. At that point, that payment will show that it's been paid in the system.
This reminds me, I need to, when we get to the end of this, before we get to the very end, I need to have a word with you about a challenge we've got with Moolah, but just sort of put that in your mind. I made a note for it.
Okay. What do you want to go ahead and talk about it? What's the challenge?
Well, it's not Moolah. Okay, because this is an association, so you kind of, this can't be new for you. Because this is an association, no one owns this association. It's one man, one vote, one ownership piece. Our leadership is uncomfortable with signing the Moolah form that says they're liable. You know, that's a corporation form. So we need to put it Moolah, or there needs to be a solution offered that other associations have given, that because we can't move forward with this Moolah situation at this point, and we've been backwards and forwards, and we need some direction from you.
Has Hart given you any advice on that?
No, not at this point.
I've never received this feedback before. I guess, I mean, for any type of association, there has to be somebody who would be responsible. And typically, I would find that as being either the treasurer or the president who would sign that information. Because either way, there's going to have to be somebody who basically is signing for the association.
Well, they're signing for it, but there's a section on the box that actually says that if anything goes wrong, that they are held liable financially for all of the losses. That's what they're uncomfortable with. And you can understand that.
Yeah, I guess my thought process is, what payment processor were y'all using previously?
PayPal, but the issue with that was what the previous management company did was they signed all of that, which, you know, me as an association management company, I wouldn't sign that for any of my clients, but the previous company did.
Gotcha. I honestly have not heard this feedback before. And you make sense to me. I would feel the same way. But from looking at it from a payment processor standpoint of view, there has to be somebody.
Because I've worked in that environment.
Mm-hmm.
I totally 100% understand it. It's just the challenge of a non-profit, a volunteer. I'm a volunteer for 1 year, so I'm only here for a year. Then I'll be moving on and probably off the board in 2, but I'm still held liable because, you know, it's a challenge, and there has to be some way, and I'm sure I'm sure somebody has come up with a solution of how this works.
Yeah, I would get back with Hart, and I would get back with Hart on this. Have you brought this to her attention?
I shot an email because I was talking with the president and the vice president on Friday. So I was trying to sort it out, but I think we've got to a point where I'm going to shoot Hart an email then.
Okay. Yeah, I would definitely recommend reaching out to her because she might have a solution that I haven't heard of, just because I typically keep my hands out of the payment processing side of things because I don't know in detail how it works really. It's for me, it's kind of like all that info goes to her and then magically it's done for me in the system.
It just popped in my head when I was looking at this, but I'm sure we'll be fine. Okay.
Well, yeah, I know there's a solution. I'm sure you're not the only association that's had something like that, because like I said, it definitely makes sense from my point of view. Awesome. So I'm going to go back to this invoice list, and I think I've gone through everything with invoices, how to make those offline payments. Any questions on this particular piece?
think
Not
I'm
quite
okay,
yet.
like I said, until I actually use it, and then I might have some questions.
Awesome. So now we're going to dive into the first piece of homework I'm going to assign today, and that's invoice templates. Invoice templates are a little bit confusing, I think. Really, I think that it should be called invoice notifications. So you all have a document that you have been filling out with the invoice notifications. Those notifications have to do with dues renewals, only dues renewals. So when your members get ready to come up to have to pay their dues renewals, those notifications will already be set up in the system. I like to think of that as happening in a separate bucket. But then if you think about it, any other type of invoice that's created in the system, maybe for events, sponsorships, donations, anything else, we don't have notifications set up to remind your members that A, the invoice has been created for them, and B, that they need to pay the invoice. So that's where we get into invoice templates. I'm going to dive back over here into y'all's site for just a second. And I've created a default dues renewal invoice template for you all. This has to do with dues renewals only. Now in here, even though, so we've got those notifications coming out of that separate bucket, so we don't need to set any of these up for dues renewals because that would be like way overkill. That would add even more notifications that are going out when we've already got that notifications document that y'all are completing. So the only reason we need an invoice template for dues renewals is to tell the system what the net due date is on the invoice. And I mentioned earlier to take note of that notes field on the invoice. That's going to pull from the footer information. So this would be a great place to supply remit payment to info or something like that. So for dues renewals, we don't need anything else on this invoice template except for the net due date and potential footer info. Now, I also like to use this invoice template as a default template. What that means is if in any case you have forgotten on a form or somewhere else in the system to mark a invoice template, you don't want the invoice to just not be created. So instead, since I have this default, it'll just pull from the default. It's best to use the one for dues renewals because your notifications may be unique to each of the invoice templates that you're creating in the additional invoice templates. So since we don't have any notifications set up here, the invoice will be created, but they won't receive a notification letting them know that it's been created. This is really just a backup. So to complete this, what I would ask you all to do is sit down and first write out a list of all the different types of invoices your system will create during its lifespan. Whether it's, I mentioned, events, donations, sponsorships. For new members, you'll need a new member invoice template. Then you're going to dive in here, you're going to create an invoice template. You're going to name it so that you'll know how to find it, how to apply it to forms. You're going to select that net due date, 30 days is typical. You're going to set that footer info. Once again, that would be a great spot for remit payment to information. Then you're actually going to need to dive in here and determine what notifications you want to go out in regards to new member invoices. You definitely want a new invoice email to go out, letting that individual know that an invoice has been created for them and is open. Now, turning this invoice on is going to send out a super spammy email. What you'll need to do is edit this email and make sure you're applying verbiage. Otherwise, like I said, it's basically like attached is your invoice, and then there's an invoice attached. Like I wouldn't open that. So this is where you would apply verbiage. Thank you so much for filling out our membership application. You have an invoice open with us. You'll find your invoice located below. Please pay within the next 30 days, and then you'll save.
So when you say that, will that then become the standard verbiage for those invoices, or is that for each individual invoice? For
any new member invoice.
Okay,
that would become the verbiage for notifications for all new member invoices.
Okay.
Now you'll need to do the same thing. You can set up a reminder email to let the individual know the invoice is due in 1 to 7 days, a past due invoice to let the member know their invoice is due in 10 to 45 days, and then also the payment notification. A common question I get is, well, what if we make our member pay at the time of registration? That's totally fine if you do that, in which case you may not need a new invoice email or reminders, but you still need a payment notification email to let them know that their payment has been received and they no longer have an outstanding invoice. Does this make sense?
Yeah, I think so. But what you're saying is that we will be creating these for every single thing that the system is collecting from scratch. We're going to actually create these from scratch for everything.
Yes.
Okay.
And this will apply to every type of invoice moving forward. So this is a lot of work in the beginning, but if you go ahead and complete it now, you'll never have to do it again.
Right, that's what I was going to say. So we just have to think about, as you say, we make a list of everything that we are liable to need an invoice for and an email that will go with it, and we create it, and then it's done. It's so
That's exactly right.
when you sit down and just do half a dozen. Now, we can't do these until you hand the system over to us, correct? Or
you can do these now.
okay.
Yep.
So Suzanne can get into this and go in and start creating right now.
That's exactly right. Let me make sure. You know what? I think that we still needed your. Oh yeah, you've got your login here.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I'm going to resend it to y'all.
Beautiful. Okay, that's great, because you know this is a time when we're in a little, we're in a slightly quieter time, so we may as well rock and roll with that.
Exactly, and I honestly get a lot of pushback on this topic, but the biggest thing here is, like, if you're not reminding your members to pay open invoices, you're just going to have to chase them down, because unfortunately that's just what I've seen as kind of like that common factor between members and associations is they don't like to pay things. No, not everybody, but it's something I've noticed. So this will hopefully break down or cut down on how much chasing around you guys are having to do it, because the system is going to do it for you.
Yeah, and people just get busy. It's not that they don't into, I do it with FSAE, I'm, good Lord, I'm one of their leaders and I forget to do it. And I will tell you that is a good thing that the FSAE uses your system for. You just every now and then, by the way, you've got this open invoice. By the way, you've got this open invoice. And I actually was talking to Hester just recently, and she's like, "Oh no, it's not me, it's the system." So I know how good that whole system is.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is where all those notifications, and remember, these are notifications for anything other than dues renewals. So you'll set up any additional invoice templates that need to be made, but don't touch this default renewals one. We're going to leave it just as it is.
Okay.
Now, while you're in here, I'm also going to ask you to complete your invoice settings. This is going to be your logo that's going to show up on the right-hand side of your invoice, and then it's going to be putting in the organization information you want to show up on the left-hand corner of your invoice. So this is super easy peasy. There's also an area where you can mark what the next invoice number is. I always recommend you and I will probably create some test invoices together as we move through implementation. It's really easy because we can't delete invoices out of the system, and it's really easy to note what invoices we're testing or for testing purposes when it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then when we get ready to launch, we can make that next invoice number 1,000 or 5,000 or whatever it needs to be. And then we'll have a clear definition of what test invoices were and what real legitimate invoices are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And can we create our own the invoice numbers we want ourselves?
No, I mean, once you put in a number here, like if you put in 1,000, the system's going to automatically create 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, and it's just going to go numerically.
And it's going to be year, it'll just roll year to year, yeah? That's
exactly right. Yeah. Now, if you ever want to change this number, you could always come back in the system. Like if you made, 1,000 to 33, or 1,000 to like 3,300 in the year of 2017 and you want a defining number to let you know now you're in 2018, I mean, I guess you could come back in the system and have it start at 5,000 and you can rechange it. I don't know why you would need to do that, but just a thought.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Okay. So this would be my second piece of homework. Just to complete some of these other few things, revenue accounts is where I'm going to add in all of the revenue accounts in your system. I've created just like a default membership dues account for y'all right now. I always joke and say this is the hardest thing in the system because this is actually the easiest thing that the system does. So if you ever need to add a new revenue account, all you have to do is select add new revenue account. You'll put in the name. Once again, that needs to be exactly how it appears in your in your QuickBooks chart of accounts. The description is optional. And then if it's used for dues, we're going to toggle on dues. If this is used for anything else, we're going to leave dues toggled off. So let's say that we have one for events. Don't need to toggle this on because it's not dues. And I'm going to hit save, and that's all we have to do.
Okay, so we could go in and do that because Diane can go in and do that easily because she already has the chart of accounts.
Yeah, she absolutely can. Now, if she does that, make sure she's only inputting income accounts. We don't need expense accounts or anything like that, liability accounts or anything, because we're only going to be pulling in income into MemberClicks.
Okay. All right. I mean, I'll get her doing that tomorrow. I'll send the chart of accounts over to you today, and then she'll do so that you have those. But I'll get her doing this right now. You know, she may as well do this tomorrow, and we'll be way ahead then. She's really fast. And
okay. That works. And then the last thing in here is the payment processor. I've just got your Moolah payment processor holding right now. Once that stuff's completed with Heart, we've got everything figured out, then you'll actually be able to see your credentials in here instead of my demo credentials.
Okay. If
you guys ever limit what type of credit cards you accept, you can always uncheck any of these boxes as well.
Okay.
Okay. So far we've kind of gone through the home page, which if we want to go back to that home page, I would just select this home, and that's going to bring us back to those 3 different dashboard areas. We've looked through our settings and account settings page. We've looked through financial and the invoices and all those different icons that were located in the right-hand corner. And I went ahead and asked you guys to complete. Whoops. There we go. Asked you guys to complete your invoice templates and your invoice settings. Now, aside from those items under the financial tab, there's also this transactions tab. This is how you can pull your transaction report. So in MemberClicks, we've got invoices and stuff in here. This is what's going to show you the debit and credit. So instead of just single invoices, it'll actually show you the sale and the payment. And you can filter this by transaction date, by revenue account, the transaction type, the payment type, the type of credit card. Just as we could search our invoice list, you can also search this area by first name, last name, organization, and invoice number. And then you can export this. So do you guys know if you're using, I think I've asked you this in the past, are you using QuickBooks desktop or online? Do you know?
No, desktop.
Perfect.
We're going to be transitioning to you both on desktop.
Okay. So in that case, we're going to export to IIF, which is super easy. And then importing into QuickBooks, you literally just go to like the File tab, then you go to Import, and then Import IIF file. I have a resource, so if you guys get ready to do that first import, it's always nerve-wracking. I have my go-to, Charlie, who's kind of like my QuickBooks guru on this, who can help you walk through that first import if you need somebody to kind of stand by your side on it.
Okay, cool.
All right, I am running out of a little bit of time. I want to try to get through one more thing, and that's database and attributes. So I showed you in the profile just a second ago how our profiles are made up of 3 different types of attributes. So those are adjusted in or can be adjusted in our systems. So I mentioned that there are built-in attributes. That's what you see right here on my screen. I mentioned that was in the left-hand box within the profile view. So those are things like name, email address, physical address, phone number, and organization. Now, what I did when I got ready to import the members that I've imported thus far is I looked at your database and I determined exactly what information you've collected on them. And I can kind of customize these different built-in attributes. For example, name. I can edit the settings for name. And I saw that you guys are collecting prefixes, middle names, and suffixes. And if at any point in time you guys didn't want to collect any of these anymore, you can just toggle them off. But I saw that you do, so I turned all of these on for you. Now, aside from name, email address, physical address, and phone numbers can also be customized. We can actually collect up to 5 email addresses, 5 physical addresses, and 5 phone numbers for any of your members at any given time. So, for example, email address. I noticed that you guys are collecting a home, an office, a school, a secondary, and a tertiary email address. So I've created these 5 labels. We can't create any additional after this, but we can house all 5 within your profiles, within your member's profile. Aside from these email addresses, there's going to be one more, and it's a system attribute called primary email address. By default, the primary email address will be the first label that's listed in this area, which happens to be home. We can change this if we want to. So if office needs to be first, I can switch these.
Yeah, it would be.
I think, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's always going to be, it will be office, then home would be second. Secondary, I would put as the third because that is probably going to be a secondary as in admin. I don't know about school. Where did school come from?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Oh my gosh, y'all, you know what? I was still in MemberClicks, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I'm like, what?
Yeah, that didn't seem familiar. So you guys only had a home email address, which would, do you want this called maybe professional or business instead?
Yeah, that would be business, and then we would actually want, we would definitely want others. We would want business.
Probably home and secondary.
Yeah, and secondary. And maybe, yeah. What about having space for a 4th one?
You could say like other.
Yeah, or admin.
Now, you guys we can continue to develop this. If you change your mind, y'all can always come in here and make changes, or I can do it for you. The big thing that I wanted to mention here, though, is you're going to see something called primary email address, primary physical address, primary phone number. And like I was saying, business as the first will be, by default be the primary, meaning when you send out an email, by default, it'll go to the business email address. If you have any members that want to change that, your members can actually set which address is their primary address in their profile, and that'll change where your email addresses are sent to. Same for you guys. You can always set what address is primary in somebody's profile. So if somebody ever said, hey, Suzanne, I'm just not receiving your emails, I want to make sure it's going to the right one, and you check and you realize that they really want it coming to their secondary, you can always just mark their secondary address as the primary. You can do that just to show you quickly. If you go to somebody's profile, I can really dive into anybody. And if you go down here, I can hit edit, and you'll notice under email address, oh, it's probably going to take a second to load. That stinks. I might be able to show you in here really fast.
Well, as a question, if we're sending, okay, example, in November, December, January, we're sending Sue Fern her email or her invoice for her membership. Can we also have a copy? In other words, the email and the invoice goes to her primary email address, but a copy of that also goes to another one of her emails. Is that possible?
We can't do that automatically in the system, but you can email it from that invoice list that we looked at to an individual, to an additional individual.
Okay, fine, okay.
And then this is just to show you guys how I can set, like in this example, there's a home, an office, and a school number. I can set one of these as the primary. Right now, you'll see the office is the primary.
Yeah, that's fine. That's easy.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to those attributes for just a second. So I mentioned there were 3 different kinds. Those are the built-ins. Then we have system attributes. Those are things that we're going to use to help track the memberships, membership period, for example, their member type, their expiration date, their join date, different info like that. We can't manipulate that info because the system has to have it, but you can view it like I showed you in profiles. That's all that info in the right-hand box in a profile. Then we've got custom attributes. So going back into your site, I'm going to go to database attributes. These are all of those custom attributes, which were fields I saw within your database that I wouldn't have known you already needed in MemberClick. So I created new custom fields. So you can make edits to any of this. Code of ethics completion, I think, is just either, it should have just been either like a yes or a no.
Yeah.
I think we need to have a date on there.
I don't think that field had any information in your database, but I'll have to relook at it. You have like member sense, a couple of other items in here. You can add additional custom attributes. Now these are going to link directly to forms. So I would recommend not adding any additional custom attributes until we complete our forms training, because then it might make a little bit more sense as to how these work and how you need to set them up. But if there are any additional custom fields that need to be added, you can shoot them to me in an email and I can go ahead and start adding them for you. But you guys will be able to edit these forever and ever. You'll notice that right now none of these are deletable. That's because that means that really all of them should have some type of information linked to them. Anytime there's information linked to a custom attribute, you can't delete it because it's preventing you from mass deleting info. But if we add like a new custom attribute right now, you would see that the delete button would be green because I can delete it. We don't have information collected in that field yet. Okay. Now, the main reason I wanted to talk through all of these pieces was to talk about my last piece of homework I'm assigning, and that's that's profile owner attribute security and attribute security. So profile owner is what your members are able to edit, what they can only see, and what is completely hidden from them within their own profiles. So the way this will work is you guys will determine, okay, as a base alliance partner membership, what are they able to see, what are they able to edit, and what's hidden from them within their profile. Now your first reaction may be, well, they can edit everything. You'll notice if we slide down here at the very bottom, you don't want them to be able to edit any of these system attributes because this has to do with their join date, last renewal date, expiration date, all that kind of stuff. So you want to make sure that maybe they can see this stuff, but they can't edit it. So I'm changing these just by clicking each box until I get the icon that I want to represent what I want to be done to that specific attribute. You'll notice there's a legend up here in the top left-hand corner that you guys can use to help you complete this.
Okay.
This is very tedious, but it is very crucial that this is done because we're not going to be able to go live until this is complete because it kind of affects so many different pieces of the system. So, for example, one thing that most of my associations don't think about when completing this is this also has to do with any any merge data fields. I'm making up my own words today. Any data merge fields that you might use in emails you send out. So we can data merge in people's first names, maybe their expiration date, maybe their member type, their username. And if you don't have it set that an individual can't see their username or can't see their first name, it's just going to have a big blank space in that email, which always looks just very unprofessional. So that's something that I would mention to keep in mind. So it's not only what they can do and see in their profile, but also what's going to be like merged into any emails you might be sending out. Does that make sense?
It does, and you saying that that's very different to what are they, that's a very, very, very key point of making the decision of what they can see. So, okay.
Exactly. Like a lot of times individuals will leave prospects alone because prospects won't be able to view their profile either way. But at least I would make it so that they can view everything. That way, when you send out emails to prospects, they're still able to view any of those data merge fields that you've brought in. And I can't tell you how many just really upset clients I've had because they're like, this email went out and people's, usernames aren't showing up and their names aren't showing up. And I always have to say, well, did you make sure that attribute security looked good? But I've learned now, and I'll go back behind you and check as well. You'll also notice that you guys have a lot of member types, so there's 8 more over here. Then you've got 1 more. Once I've completed adding in all of your database, there's going to be a few more in here as well. You can go ahead and get a head start on this, though, and go ahead and start completing it.
Okay, yeah, because at the moment you've got our alliance members, but not our main members. Okay.
Yeah, and so I'll add those in. So if you guys want to wait and do it all at once, you can. But if you want to get a head start, it might be a good idea as well. Now, the second piece to this is even more tedious, but once again, it's just as important, and that's attribute security. So we have the ability to set up directories within the system. If you want your members to be engaged within the social community and be able to communicate with one another, it's crucial for us to determine what your members can see in other members' profiles. And once again, because you guys have a lot of member types, this is going to be a little bit of a pain point probably for y'all, but you have the entire time we're in implementation together to get this complete. So if you need to do a little bit every day, then that might be the best way to do it. So basically, you're going to ask yourself, okay, as an admin, what can I do and see in each type of member type's profile? As an admin, you really have the ability to edit anything you want. So you can just kind of make this mass change here. And you would just go through all of these, including the additional pages. Then you'd have to use your drop down and say, okay, well, as a base alliance partner, what can I do and see in a prospect profile? What can I do and see in an admin profile? What can I do and see in a base alliance partner membership? This would be other base alliance partner members, not my own, but other of that member type. So you'll have to go through and mark that for each of these. It really may be that all of them can view whatever they want, but you guys may end up having some internal fields or some fields that are a little bit specific to just members. Like you're probably going to want to hide username, maybe member number. And you'll need to use this drop down and go through each member type and determine that for every member type. Does that process make sense to you all? Okay.
Now, question. When, I asked the question of being able to, we want a searchable directory so that, again, Sue Fern, I'm looking for a title company, and I go in and I search title companies and all the title companies come up. So again, when we're doing this, we need to be sure that all the title company information that we want people to be able to see in that search engine, is that relevant here?
It is. Title company, is that already a custom attribute that was included in the database you sent me?
Yeah, we sent you the alliance list.
The update.
Yeah. So those drop downs that we want to be searchable, those are the ones we may add to them. We may refine them a little bit, but at this point, that's what we want to be able to do. It's part of the bylaws and agreements that people can't see. They can't see an email, but they want to be able to email. So we don't publish members' emails, but we do have a facility that people can click on the profile and send them an email, a blind email. So we have to be careful then what we're showing the rest of the world at this point, because that's going to it is going to be how that is viewed when we do that drop down. correct?
That's exactly right. This is going to directly affect what members can see. Now, you can hide individuals' email addresses, and MemberClicks has a direct message component. So they can't message their email. They're really just messaging them in MemberClicks. So they'll receive an email or message in MemberClicks that they can view. So if you sent me, if you were looking at my profile and you wanted to network with me and reach out to me, you could always send me a message. I'll get it in MemberClicks, and if I like you and want to contact or communicate with you, then I can email you back and say, hey, thanks so much for sending me, your email. I'd love to connect. I'll send you, this is my personal email, and kind of share it with you that way.
Yeah, that's exactly how we want to be able to do it for FGCAR.
Perfect. That's no problem at all.
Okay. But I just wanted to be sure, because I don't want to go and sort of do a no on this, and then when people are searching, we've gone and messed it up. So, okay, perfect.
And you'll be able to test this out, especially when we do our social community training. We can view, just to show you a quick sneak peek, and I do need to run, but a quick trick as you're going through this stuff is you can click on any of these members' profiles, and you'll notice there's this actions drop down where you can assume their profile. Assuming their profile will allow you to see the front end of the website exactly how they would see it.
Oh, beautiful. Okay. Yeah,
So
we can go into some of this and look at some of this now. Now you've done a big chunk of work. It's going to be great. We'll go in and take a look, and then that'll give us some questions as well. Awesome.
Cool. Yeah, it's definitely best to get your hands dirty, start playing around a little bit, and yeah, let me know if y'all have any questions. Awesome. So we've got the second half of our training that we'll need to complete. Do you guys want to go ahead and schedule that with me?
Yeah, let's do that, because there's a lot.
Okay. When would work best for you guys?
What kind of time frame are you looking at?
I could do something as early as Wednesday or Thursday. I've got tons available Thursday.
I'm out. Are you talking about this week?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, I'm out Thursday, but I am in Wednesday.
I am available after 3 on Wednesday, the 24th.
Okay. So that would be, y'all are Eastern time.
Yeah.
Is that right? So I could do 3 or 4.
Why don't we do 3? That might be safe. It might be better in case we.
Okay.
Then I have one for you on the 30th. We're doing one at 11 o'clock on the 30th. Is that right?
Let me peek.
Because we set them up for every Tuesday at 11, I think.
Okay, right.
Yep, 11 o'clock.
Okay. So yeah, we can do 3 o'clock this Wednesday, and then we could be looking at this today and tomorrow. I can get Diane to do all the financial stuff, and then we'll have that to look at.
It'd be awesome if we could use that Tuesday at 11 to do the content training. Have I received the design document for FGCAR yet? I don't think I have.
Let me go back and see what I sent.
Yeah, I thought you'd chosen the design and said all. I thought you'd done all of that.
I think you might have emailed me the design, but there were some more stuff. There were some additional pieces I was missing, so I needed you to complete the actual design document that I sent.
There's a design page that was sent on the 12th.
May. 9. Oh, did you send it maybe to my personal email instead of our chain?
A Warren at MemberClicks.
Yeah, that's my personal. Try to keep things in that chain. I typically will keep that personal email for internal stuff in MemberClicks, which is totally.
It was on the same email with the Alliance Partner Searchable Directory thing. So which email do you want them going to?
That chain I just sent you your credentials to or from, if you'll just always reply to that chain, that tends to work best if that works for y'all.
Okay.
That just kind of helps me keep everything together. Forms, membership levels, and pricing. Is it? No, that's not it.
I'll just resend it to you on that.
Alliance Partner Web Design. I got it. Oh, this is not. I have a web design page, but this doesn't look like it's the design document. Yeah, if you'll resend the design document, that'd be great.
Okay, Suzanne, when we get off the call, I've just got to do one thing, and then I'll come over there and let's go through and check ourselves.
Okay.
All right. Okay. I haven't gotten it, but I'll when I see it, I'll let you know if that's all I need for that. Yeah, and then if we can have that ready to go by next Tuesday together, and we can complete that content training. I'm going to send y'all's follow-up email with directions on how to complete any of those homework pieces in case y'all forget. But if you have any other questions between now and the next time we talk, y'all just let me know, okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you, ladies, so much. I appreciate your time today, and I look forward to talking to you on Wednesday.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, y'all. Have a good one. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.